Well, good morning, people from St Elizabeth's. I hope this video message finds you well. Here is a reading and a short reflection to help us with our worship this morning, which I'll live stream at 10:30, an act of communion. You may want to have a piece of bread, some wine with you, so you can, at a distance, take part in our communal meal today. We are moving quickly now towards Easter. It is only just a couple of weeks away, and the readings we're going to use for this morning are the ones set for today. If you want to follow the gospel reading, that is the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. You need to read that on your own and reflect that on your own. It's John chapter 11. The reading that we're going to focus on this morning is taken from Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 to 14. And it is the story of Ezekiel in a valley of dry bones. And this is that reading, Ezekiel 37, verses 1 to 14. The hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord, and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me to and fro among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, "Son of man, can these bones live?" I said, "O sovereign Lord, you alone know." Then he said to me, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord." So I prophesied, and as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, Son of man, and say to it, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe into these slain, that they may live." So I prophesied as I was commanded, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army. Then he said to me, "Son of man, these dry bones are the whole house of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. O my people, I am going to open your graves and bring you from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord, when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in them, and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. Then you will know that I am the Lord, and I have spoken, I have done it, declares the Lord." Here, God takes Ezekiel to a valley in which there are many dry bones, and God asks a seemingly impossible question. Can these bones live? Ezekiel is told to prophesy, to speak God's words to the bones. A second and a third prophetic word is needed, and those dry bones become living again. In the context of the reading, it is a powerful image of hope to the nation of Israel, which was still in captivity at that point. It was God's way of telling the nation of Israel that there was hope, that through the prophetic voice of Ezekiel, that the nation was going to be restored, that the nation's forced captivity would end. New life was to be breathed into the nation of Israel. It is God saying that there is hope. Now note that there is partnership between God and Ezekiel. Ezekiel had to speak God's words of life into those bones for new life to happen. Yes, I know this is a vision, it is an analogy, but there is still partnership between God and Ezekiel. God speaks, Ezekiel acts, and something else happens as a result. Hope is given. There are two things just to quickly draw from this: hope and speech. Firstly, hope. Today the world is in need of hope. The message here is that as we respond to the words that God speaks, that we will find hope, new life, the hope of restoration. But what does that actually mean? To respond to God is to recognize the relationship, the friendship that he offers us, and for us to accept that. It is our responding to God, trusting in him, through which we discover renewed life and hope. Remember too that Ezekiel had to speak to those bones 3 times. So renewal is a process. It doesn't simply happen. It is an ongoing process of us deepening our trust in God as we respond to God's words time after time. It is our purposeful responding to God which will help us through this present time that we face, as well as safely taking us to the horizon of eternity. It is us responding to God's words that through which we can find the peace of which we are in great need of at this time. But then we need to respond to the partnership part of this too. So the second part, speech. Words of encouragement are spoken by God, which in turn then need to be spoken by Ezekiel. Ezekiel speaks and then the bones respond. In our present situation, we must be encouraged to speak words of God's hope to one another, to encourage one another. Hopefully, these few words may encourage you to look afresh at the hope that God offers each of us and to trust him as we journey through the coming weeks. And like Ezekiel, we all have a part to play in this. The words and actions that we can use towards others, social distancing allowed, can draw others towards God. As a church community, we are encouraging one another to be in contact with one another, especially with those who are not online. As you do so, encourage one another to focus on God. He is our hope. He offers new life. As you do so, encourage one another to focus on God. He is our hope. It is him who offers life. The words you speak on behalf of God can powerfully affect others. Draw on this story from Ezekiel as you do so. There will be a time when this challenge ends and we will be able to move more freely again. I hope that by doing church in this new, different way, by deepening our relationships with one another, praying for one another, however we do that, by text, email, phone, social media, and as we do, may there be a renewed purpose as we focus on Jesus afresh. I hope the church more widely will be renewed, finding a renewed and deeper trust in God. So where have we got to? A valley of dry bones, a story of hope offered with new life given, a story of Ezekiel working in partnership with God. May we allow the words spoken by God towards us, the ones we find in the Bible, bring each of us hope and renewed life. May we play our part too, to speak words of hope to one another within our community. Yet more than that, may these words also affect those beyond our four walls.